Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great because we are less than a month away from Battlefield 6 and honestly, it cannot come soon enough. Every day I open Steam and I just see that little grayed out Battlefield 6 icon. And every day I have to remind myself, don't worry, we're just one day closer. It's gonna be alright. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been some slightly concerning news that has come out recently. I guess I shouldn't say news, but a quote that came out recently. Because in a recent interview with IGN, one of the Battlefield devs said this: "We are a gritty, grounded, realistic shooter. That's what we intend to be, and that's what the game is going to look like for a while." And as you can imagine, a lot of people, myself included, read that "for a while" at the end and then basically turned into that Star-Lord meme.
What? No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
But who knows, some people said it was a mistranslation or something, or maybe it's not gonna be that bad, so don't worry guys, it's gonna be okay, have no fear. We definitely won't see SpongeBob in Season 2 of Battlefield 6. But yeah, anyway, despite that slight concern that people have, I am still thoroughly looking forward to the game. And one of the main things I was impressed about with the game back when I was playing the beta was that I noticed the game looked incredible, but it also ran incredibly well. Remember how 2042 was a complete disaster that ran like crap, but then most Battlefield games before that had been known for running well, especially games like Battlefield 1? Well, it seems like DICE finally got their act together with the optimization, because the game ran extremely well. And recently we just learned that apparently part of the reason the game runs so well, not the full reason obviously, but part of the reason, is because DICE had to optimize for the Series S. Now, the Xbox Series S, I'm sure all of you probably know, it's been very controversial throughout the entire generation. There's been claims that it's been holding back gaming, that it's been holding back Xbox, and that's why some ports of games come later than the PS5 version. Which, the only time I think that's really been confirmed was with Baldur's Gate 3, which was because of feature parity. The main reason the game took so long to come to Xbox was because Microsoft was like, hey, you have to have split-screen co-op on the Series S. But that ended up taking so long that Microsoft dropped the parity clause for that. So yeah, there are some valid complaints with the Series S, but I feel like a lot of the hate does get overblown. And based on recent news, the existence of the Series S might actually be helping Battlefield 6 to an extent, because this news came out recently. DICE struggled to get Battlefield 6 running on Xbox Series S, but it forced them to optimize memory usage, making the whole game better and more stable for all platforms. So were there struggles developing for the Series S? Yes, and I will always stand by the fact that giving that thing only, what is it, like 8 gigs of VRAM was a big mistake. From my understanding, that is the biggest bottleneck that the Series S has. And honestly, it makes sense when you look at other PC components, like, say, the 30 series GPUs. The 3070 is still a great card, but unfortunately, when it came out, it only had, what, 8 gigs of VRAM? Which was fine for the time, but nowadays, games are so unbelievably unoptimized that 8 isn't enough. You need like at least 12 to have decent texture quality. But regardless, the fact that the Series S is the weaker overall system meant that they actually had to, you know, put in the work to make the game run well. And as a result of making it run better on the lower end system, the higher end systems benefit even more. Who would have thought if you design for the lower end systems first and then work up from there instead of, you know, designing for a 5090 and then going down from there, cough cough Borderlands, you get a game that still looks incredible, has amazing destruction and whatnot, and still runs extremely well. Now, a lot of people in the replies to the tweet that I showed were actually making jokes, like that goddamn Series S. Oh wait, it actually helped this time? Damn. But as expected, there were still people who are somehow trying to paint a game running better because of the Series S as a negative. No, I'm not kidding. They are mad that the Series S has forced the game to run better. Also, real quick before we get into this, I got a comment the other day from a guy who was telling me to stop sub-begging at the beginning of videos, and I want to give a shout out to that guy because he actually reminded me that if you haven't subbed yet, you really should, but only if you enjoy the content. So yeah, shout out to that guy for reminding me. Anyway, without further ado, ado, let's go ahead and get right into this and find out how Battlefield 6 running better because of the Series S is a bad thing. Alright, first off, that's what PlayStation and PC are better, double laughing emoji. Now, don't get me wrong, PC is absolutely better. I do not disagree with that. It's just that the logic is flawed. You're saying that PlayStation and PC are better because the Series S forced the game to be more optimized. Again, I don't disagree with the notion that PC is better. Obviously, I'm on PC. But with how many unoptimized disasters have been releasing recently because they use UE5 and just expect you to rely on fake frames and DLSS, I'm extremely happy to see a situation where the devs are actually forced to, you know, make the game run well by itself. Shocking concept, I know. Anyway, this next one, I thought it was satire at first, and then I checked the replies. So this guy said, "Dang stupid Xbox Series S." And then this guy replied and said, "For making the game run better on all platforms, lol." And then the first dude replied and said, "You do realize this means the game could be much better, but they have to cut stuff so it can run on the potato." So my question to you is, what exactly did they have to cut? Because the environments are extremely destructible. You can destroy entire buildings and apartment complexes. And it's one of the best looking games I've ever played. Damn you, Series S, I can't believe you would do this. I mean, by this logic, we should just stop releasing games on consoles because they're holding back PC. Games could be so much better if they didn't have to get scaled down for consoles. You know what? Let's make every game in Unreal Engine 5 and require DLSS and fake frames to run well, and have it struggle even on a 5090. I think this is a great idea. Randy Pitchford paid me for this video, by the way. Alrighty, what do we have next? Literally, why does the Series S exist? Well, first of all, to be the cheapest and most affordable option to get into next-gen gaming, or current-gen gaming at this point. A lot of people still say next-gen, but like, guys, you gotta think about it. We've only got a year or two left in this console generation. I know it's scary to think about, but the PS6 and the Sexbox, or whatever the next one is gonna be called, they're not that far away. And, you know, I say that the Series S was supposed to be affordable, but then they jacked up the price. But regardless, when it came out, it was supposed to be the cheapest entry point to the current generation of consoles. And apparently, based on what we're seeing in this tweet, it also exists to make games run better for higher end systems. So I don't know, man. If you were commenting this on, say, a post about why BG3 was delayed on Xbox, then sure, that would make sense. But again, like the guy before saying, "Lamau, this is why PC and PlayStation are better." In this context, the statement doesn't even make sense. Like, it's helping you in this situation, and you're complaining about that. Damn, the devs actually had to optimize the game, which benefits not only lower end systems, but higher end as well. This is so sad. I can't believe the Series S would do this. Anyway, what do we have next? In other words, Series S held the game back. Thumbs up emoji. You know, I'm gonna be 100% honest. At no point when I was playing the Battlefield 6 beta did I ever think to myself, damn, this game is great, but it feels like it's being held back in some way. Like, I'm not the only one, right? Be completely honest in the comments. Did any of you ever play BF6 and think, damn, this is awesome, but it feels like it's being held back for some reason? Because honestly, it feels like basically everything I could have wanted out of a Battlefield game. And if you didn't tell me that it was being held back by the Series S, I wouldn't know. And if you did tell me, I would ask you where. Alrighty, let's take a look at one more tweet. Optimization, no support, ray tracing for high-end systems, option otherwise found by default at indie level. Sure, let's grift and call it optimization. Are you seriously crying that there's no ray tracing options? I'm gonna say this right now, as a PC gamer who has a 5080, fuck ray tracing. It is the most overrated, unnecessary marketing tool garbage the industry has put out maybe ever. 99% of the time, you will only notice it because your frames will be significantly worse. I can think of like 2 games total that actually look noticeably better with ray tracing on. Fortnite and Cyberpunk. And again, it's not even close to worth it because it completely cripples your FPS. Turning on ray tracing is the equivalent of beating your hardware's kneecaps with a hammer. Sure, people get to sign your cast and make it look nice, but you can't walk. And also, why would they not be able able to have ray tracing options for high-end hardware because of the Series S. They could just not have ray tracing on the Series S and then have it be an option for high-end hardware. I fail to see the correlation between a lack of ray tracing and the Series S. All that shows me is they got their priorities straight, and instead of focusing on some unnecessary crap like ray tracing, they actually put effort into making the game run well and other aspects. I can't believe we've gotten to the point as a society where we are upset that games are focusing on running better as opposed to ray tracing. I remember when console guys were hyping up ray tracing on the PS5 and Series X, and I'm just here like, you guys are still doing this? Are we still on the ray tracing circle jerk train? Why? Ray tracing has literally only made things worse as time has gone on, because some games nowadays are starting to require it for whatever ungodly reason. Look, the point is, stop complaining about good optimization in games. Battlefield 6 runs as great as it looks, and that is really saying something nowadays, and I will happily take it. But yeah, anyway guys, with all that being said, that is all I've got for this video. I am so glad that this news came out and people got mad over it, because we're in what I like to call slump-tember. Content has been far more sparse, hence the less frequent uploads. But trust me, when the content comes around, so will I. Interpret that as you wish. Anyway guys, with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more. Join us every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the gaming channel for gaming streams, and I will catch you all next time.